Welcome everyone to another beautiful night, Thursday night that is, in here in California. We're having exceptional summer weather. Really quite enjoying it.
Autumn, right?
Summer.
So October is summer still.
Oh my God. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, it's still summer. But anyway, we got a beautiful lineup for you here today. Tavis Corwin is back with his third campaign to share with us. And
Woohoo!
for the very first time, we have Leanne Huynh. Be interesting to talk to her. We just
Yes.
saw her this past weekend at LA Comic Con.
Woohoo!
I don't know about her, but I'm still recovering. And then last but not least, it's always fun when Les Garner is on the show. He's
Yes.
back tonight. All right, so don't go away. We'll be right back after this short break. Hey, everybody. Now, I didn't see anyone wearing that cosplay shirt. You know the one I'm talking about, the red one, Mills cosplay shirt. Nobody showed up at LA Con with that, but that's fine. We've got New York Comic Con and Baltimore Comic Con coming up. So the offer still stands. Show up with that shirt and I'll get Mog to give you a free sketch of your choice. Okay. And don't forget to hit that follow button, stay notified, and keep up with our weekly shows like Nick Barucci's The Original Art Show every Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We've got several new shows too, so you want to make sure that you stay up to date on the EXP channel, and that's the way how you make sure you don't miss on anything. Okay, so this evening, one of my guests, actually, she's not my guest, but she's my partner, Long Park.
Oh, how many
I don't know. Sometimes
partners do you have?
I don't know.
One of too many.
Anyway, so what are you working on?
I'm working on classic Psylocke.
Okay, on a
Yeah.
sketch cover. So we're gonna start that out at $200, and
I was talking with Don Aguilera,
Aguilera. Okay,
the Spawn artist.
all right.
We're good acquaintances, and we're discussing. There's a trend of like certain characters rising up, like for example, Magic, and recently it's Emma Frost because of Rivals.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're both agreeing, Psylocke always, whatever the trend, seems to have a steady following.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tonight with us we have Leanne Huynh, who just did the LA Comic Con with us this past weekend. Are you getting? Do you do a lot of commissions?
I do some color commissions, yeah.
Mm. And is Magic one of the characters that you get a lot of requests for, or what kind of requests do you get?
Actually, let's see, I've gotten Spider Gwen, and actually, Magic was one of mine too. And who else? Who else do I get commissions for? Shiva, Lara Croft. Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow, that's interesting.
Lara Croft.
Hmm.
Yeah.
But then
Black
you
Cat.
are you
Black
are
Cat.
you are more of a game artist, so I could see people asking like a game characters from you. Whereas Mog, I don't think you've never done a lot of crap yet.
No.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And then missing from this weekend, who we didn't see, is Travis.
Yeah, Travis.
Right?
Hello. What? Sorry, what was this
You're
weekend? I should know
looking
that.
at his campaign, but you weren't down in LA Comic Con this time. What happened, if I may ask?
No, I mean, last time that I was there, I was specifically there with Philip, mutual
Right.
friend of the show,
Okay.
Philip Jin. I was just
Right.
chilling at his table because we had put out finale together.
That's right.
But I've never tabled there actually,
Oh,
and
okay.
Oh my God.
still kind
I
of
just
like
realized.
ramping up my my convention presence further south. because I live near Seattle, so I'm kind of focusing on like Washington and Oregon right now. Maybe we'll get down there one day, but that's a pretty big trip for me.
Okay.
Did you cut your hair? I didn't recognize you until
No, it's
you said.
it's just up.
Okay.
Up and
Okay.
fun, yeah.
Oh my God.
I can
You
put it
look like a
down if that would
different
make you more comfortable.
No, you look really nice. Just had a different side of you that I never noticed.
Well, thank you.
You may want to consider the Vancouver Fan Expo show. It runs early
I
in the
have
year.
actually, yeah. I've thought about that a couple of times, and for some reason, I've never actually taken the step to apply. But that is one on my
That's not
list.
too,
When does that
yeah, that's
happen
not too
usually?
far from you too.
When is it now? Vancouver. Wasn't it February?
Yeah, I think it's February.
Okay. Yeah, I don't usually
I
have
think it's within the first
other
2
shows
weeks,
in
I think, or
February.
something like that. Yeah,
No, I should look
should
into
be a
that one.
fairly easy show to get into as well.
Yes, I am here because I have a new book coming out either later this year or maybe early next year. We'll see how it all comes together. But
Okay.
it's on Indiegogo now. Campaign just launched yesterday. We're about a third of the way to the goal, so feeling good about that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's get into it, but let me first check in with
Yeah.
Les. I want to make sure that we're not forgetting him.
Our favorite.
I'm just cranking out inks on something, man. Cranking out the inks on another Eva piece. I've got like so much Eva stuff going on like all the time. It's crazy. My girl from Brides, my baby. So and I just finished. Oh my God! So I just finished a 32-page one shot called Crimson Canvas. Finished another 32-page one shot called Spearfinger. Got, good Lord. So there's an anthology series coming out called Gasp, and every issue is going to have a 32-page main story and then some short stories in it. And right now, I'm kind of contracted to do a boatload of these main stories, and I've been just busting my chops on those. So,
well, it's good to see that you are working and bringing in the money, man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I
great.
mean, I'm doing pretty well, and not really doing many shows right now because, well, I gotta be in the shop busting out pages.
Yeah, you're busy, and that's a hard balance. Mog and I did that. We just came off of 10 weeks of not doing any shows, and then we just did LA, and then we got some big shows that are coming out. We'll talk about those later a bit there. But let's get back to Tavis here, who just launched his new campaign on Indiegogo. It's a very interesting story. Why don't you go ahead and tell us about that, Tavis?
Yeah, so Ode tells the story of a little moss plant that's just living, doing moss stuff somewhere in the forest. And then one day, just sort of spontaneously, it starts to become sentient and aware of itself and developing this sort of sense of consciousness and heightened sort of awareness of its surroundings. It starts to see things and hear things, whereas before, a moss plant doesn't really have eyes or ears. And so it starts to just experience this new level of consciousness and awareness. And at the same time, it feels this sort of call coming from high up in the forest canopy above the trees, sort of beckoning it up there. And it gets the sense that some answers to what it is, its existence and its identity might be found up there. And so it sort of embarks on this quest to reach the top of this big western red cedar tree. And that's essentially the the story. Seems, from our perspective, like a fairly small scale journey, but for a little tiny moss that's lived its entire life in one spot on the ground, it's kind of the most epic journey imaginable. And so, yeah, that's the story.
I kind of look at it like this is like a one-cell creature, then all of a sudden it's got superpowers. Because now
Yeah.
it can see, it can hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
this is all new
It's
to
crazy.
him. The world has
Yeah.
changed. Part of it is going upside down.
Oh, yeah.
What's going on here? It kind of
if you can imagine, like having no concept of those senses, and then one day just
Right.
sort of acquiring
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Right.
I
I would think, and I don't know how you're telling the story, but I would think it would be overwhelming.
I think it's going to be a tragedy.
Because I'm thinking, you went from a world that, where you didn't hear anything. Okay, I think you don't hear anything. And now it's full of sound. Right?
Yes.
And then you're going, how do I shut this off?
And also, it's going to be like incredibly lonely in some way, because it's only him who's sentient. And then at the same time, very existentialism, extremely, like maybe Kierkegaard type of existential philosophical part. And
that's like
a
to
tragedy.
me. Yeah, it's part of what I think was sort of drew me to the concept is on the surface, purely sort of aesthetically, it's this very lovely, cute, very, very naturey and wholesome sort of looking story. But in terms of the meat of it, yeah, it is very existential. It's sort of all about exploring the nature of consciousness and identity and all of this stuff. And to me, like you on the one hand, yeah, you do have like this whole range of senses that sort of feel like this whole other superpower, right? As you say, Mel, and that's true. But then also, the moss in its sort of original form has this other whole way of sort of experiencing the world that is, hard for us as humans to conceive, but is maybe sort of equally rich in the way that sort of plants, create these chemical signals that they use to communicate with each other and have this sort of awareness of their surroundings. And so a lot of the story is kind of about reconciling these two things. It's like this creature is sort of split in two in a certain way, where there's this new way of seeing the world and this old way of seeing the world, and then how do you kind of find some sort of balance or make the two work and coexist.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting. You always come up with these kind of like deep thought-provoking stories, and here you are hitting us with another one. Now, who's your creative team and all this? Or are you doing all of this time?
So I'm the writer on the book, and my artist is an awesome artist from Scotland named Faye Stacey. They were nominated for an Ignatz Award last year for a book that they wrote and drew, and doing a beautiful job. I mean, you can see the art. We just revealed the cover yesterday, which I'm particularly excited about. And then it's being lettered by Rob Jones, who I also worked with on my last book, Canary. It's just total pro. Does great work. So yeah, it's the three of us.
Okay, and then the book, because they can't really speak, it's all told in a narrative format.
Yeah, I kind of, with every book I do, I like to do something a little bit different with it, from what I've done in the past. And so, this one, part of the sort of marching orders in setting the whole thing up was that it's told a little bit more like a storybook. So the actual images are a little more sparse, like there's fewer panels on a page than, you know, most kind of conventional comics. And most of the story is told through words, so a lot of captions. It's still a comic at the end of the day, so it still needs to be in that medium, in the sense that, like, if I just took the words divorced from the images and gave you only that, it wouldn't really be a complete experience. So, you know, the images are still integral, but just something about the balance of it. I sort of liked the storybook feel and the interiority of it. You know, so much of the story is like what's going on inside of this moss's, you know, mind. And so having something that's a little more balanced towards prose to really like dig into all of that stuff sort of felt appropriate for this particular story.
I'm actually kind of interested in this to see how you treat this story, because I'm a guy that likes I like action adventure, you know, kind of stuff, and I'm trying to figure out, how do you make this exciting about a moss getting these superpowers? You know, how do you create the highs and lows that this dude is going to go through? Is that something that you can expand on?
Man, yeah, I mean, that's a good question. And obviously, you know, your mileage may vary. Like I know a lot of people who are drawn to more kind of action-y comics. Maybe this won't be up your alley, because it is, you know, it's just a different kind of story.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it is still a story with conflicts and, you know, highs and lows, revelations, challenges.
Does this moss get threatened, like he's about, like something's going to eat it, or is there a time
that does
like
happen?
he's,
yeah,
right?
on the journey, you know, trying to climb up this tree. Yeah, this new sort of mobile creature draws some attention from potentially hostile predators, so that's part of it. And there's also this element of there's this, as the consciousness sort of develops for this moss, it starts to hear a voice in its head that's sort of separate from itself, and the voice is telling it things that maybe it doesn't want to hear, and it's a little unclear whether it's antagonistic or trying to help. And so there's a little bit of like an internal struggle with what this moss like believes it should be doing and is trying to do, versus what this strange voice is sort of telling it. And so, yeah, there is both kind of internal and external struggles happening at the same time. That, yeah, I think tell a pretty exciting story with ups and downs and all of that kind of stuff. But it's just a different kind of action maybe than you would get in, you know, a superhero comic.
So to reiterate what you said and answering Mel's question, how do you get the viewers to care about a moss? Sounds like to me there's a lot of like struggles, so the viewers will be empathizing and worrying about that. Is that what, in a nutshell, you're saying?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's the same way that you create empathy for any character. So yeah, although I think there's sort of two halves of that answer. That was definitely something that I worked very explicitly with Faye, the artist, on, was like trying to create a design for the moss that would feel like a character that you could sort of look at and connect with, that wouldn't just sort of blend into the environment, but would have sort of recognizable features that would be sort of distinct and unique. And I think they did a really good job of creating a character which I think looks very cute. And so there's, it's this little lumpy moss thing, but you look at it and you go, yeah, that is an entity that, has some kind of autonomy and identity. So that's one side of it. And then, the other side of it is just creating some sense of like, what does this moss want, and what is it trying to achieve, and what are the obstacles in the way, and going through those struggles with the moss. It's a tough journey, like for something that has lived its entire life in one spot on the forest floor and has never thought about anything before and has had just this very simple existence. All of these things are very overwhelming, and there's a lot of challenges that on that scale feel really massive and daunting. And so I do think that you feel for this little moss that is so small and relatively kind of weak, and is facing these fairly grand challenges.
We all like to cheer for the underdog.
Or it's like the innocence and fragility.
We
Absolutely.
always, because when you see the underdog win, it is such a joyous occasion. It's the basic David Goliath story. That the small dude can beat the big dude. That's basically
and the smaller it is, like the more epic that triumph becomes. And
exactly. Like Luke Skywalker going against the Death Star, that whole thing. But that's what it's all about. And I will. I'm gonna back it. I enjoy your stories. They're different. So I can't wait to get into this one and read about this moss. And it's a very interesting topic because we're learning so much more about plants and how they communicate and how they interact with the environment, even with us humans, right? So not a lot of people are probably going to be interested in that, but it is something that I'm intrigued with. So it'll be interesting. Yeah. So we have Unknown 869 is asking. I know you said it earlier, but if you can tell them, where are you located again, Travis?
So I live in the Seattle area. I am originally from California. I was born in Southern California, but kind of settled in the Pacific Northwest in my youth. So I consider myself a Pacific Northwesterner.
Oh.
Okay.
Seattle has a lot of moss.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah, and the whole setting of the book is very much inspired and based on the forests of the Pacific Northwest. I took a lot of like reference photos going out on hikes and stuff, and like sent those to my artist, and really tried to use a lot of like native plants and that kind of thing, just to give it a bit of a feeling of authenticity and just sort of pay tribute to the places that I love. So
there's also I saw that there was a kind of a glitch where people have a hard time putting the page up. Has that been resolved, or is there a workaround?
To my knowledge, it has not been resolved. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a bumpy launch. I my last two campaigns I did through Kickstarter, and this was my first one trying out Indiegogo, and it hasn't made the best impression so far. We'll just say that. But yeah, the issue that a lot of people seem to have is with the links that I've put out on social media and everything. If you just go to the link, you get this error message that says rate limit exceeded, and then it just won't load the page. So that sucks. There's two workarounds that seem to be fairly reliable. So one was the one you said, you can do it, incognito mode. And that does seem to work. I tried that on my end, and that also fixed the problem. The other one that someone else tried is if you just go to Indiegogo.com and then you search for Ode, you can go to the page through there and it works fine. So there's something just about the links that, for whatever reason, are glitchy. They work for some people, but not for everybody. So yeah, it's very frustrating, and there's not really much I can do other than try to just get the word out to people on like ways of getting around it. But it's unfortunate that anybody has to go to that extra effort just to get to the page.
It shouldn't be happening. You already hear that, but hopefully it doesn't impact you too much. So guys, if you want to check that out, I do recommend it. Like I said, I will back it. I haven't yet, but I promise you I will. It's Tavis writes is very interesting. Maybe you might find it off the wall, but they're actually great reads. I enjoyed the last one. I'm going to back this one, and I'm going to be looking forward to it. Also, sign up for his Substack. We'll put that. If we haven't put that out in the comments yet, we will. Jay will get that out there for you. All right, so we're going to take a little break, but before we do, let's go around the room and see what these guys are working on.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start with Maud here.
Okay.
She had nothing when we started the show, but now she's got a good amount of stuff there. That's pretty fast for her. So okay.
Thank you.
So that's a Psylocke on an X-Men sketch cover. Starting bid is on that is 200. Les is working on his favorite girl, Eve.
Wow, so beautiful.
And again,
look at that.
Looking good.
So beautiful.
Hey, what do you ask? What's the starting bid on that, buddy?
What's that?
What's the starting bid?
Started out $100.
Starting bid? Okay, there you go. $100 starting bid on that, and it'll probably sell just like all the others, right? So if you want to bid on that, or Marks, please go ahead and put that out in the comments.
This one's also like ink and pencil, because there's like shading and stuff in it. I don't know if the camera picks it up.
So Leanne, okay. Now Leanne is not participating in the art auction, which is fine. She's working on a commission. Is that something we can take a look at, Leanne?
Yeah. Can we see?
Let's see if this camera picks it up.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. So pretty.
Beautiful face. All right. Great. So if you want to hit her up later for a commission or something, we'll get that information later on this evening. All right. So don't go away. We'll be right back after this short commercial break.
Symphonic verses, Nocturne's romance. A song of romanticized darkness, dreaming death by sleep.
FOC, a comic industry term for the final day a new comic can be ordered by a local comic shop. So, what does that mean to you? Well, it's your last chance to order a new comic book from your local comic shop. Order up! The FOC show will go over every book that's about to be cut off every Friday afternoon.
I'm going to highlight some of the stuff that I think is really worth paying attention to,
so that you can put in an order at your LCS for as many copies or as many variant covers as you want.
Sometimes the store needs to know to up their orders.
Never miss out on a popular comic again. Order up, part of the experience.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
In a world where you hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel,
That'd be really great. Thanks.
Welcome back again, everyone. Thanks again for joining us. We've been talking to Tavis Corwin, Leanne Huynh, and Les Garner. And so, Tavis, you're doing something a little bit special on your Kickstarter. Can you tell us about that?
Let's see. I like to think a lot of the things I do are special. Which thing?
Tell us about the special, please.
Go ahead and tell us what you have to offer off your Kickstarter, your campaign.
Oh yeah. So you're talking about the prints, the cyanotype?
The print, yeah. And then you have original art as well.
Yeah. Well, that is what it is. So so obviously, yeah, the whole theme of the book, it's all about nature, and so I'm always with these campaigns trying to think of something kind of cool and unique and special that I can offer as a reward for people. And so for this one I landed on cyanotype printing, which I just kind of stumbled upon like a little while before the thing launched, and it's basically this technique that uses a light activated solution, so you can paint it onto just like watercolor paper, and then if you put objects over top of it and then you leave it in the sun for a little while, it creates this exposure that shows you the images of the different objects you put on. And so I'm doing that using a bunch of just found objects from nature, mostly stuff from my yard and like stuff from walks and hikes that I go on to. I just collect. So I've been like, when I spot a cool feather or something while I'm out, I'll just grab it and take it with me. And so, just creating these unique little pieces. Every single one is done by hand. So everyone is one of a kind. They're all unique designs that I'm creating for each one. So no two are alike. And it's just, something with a little bit of a personal touch, to say thank you to people who want to give a little bit of extra support.
Well, the income that you use is like cyan something, so it's always blue, right? It's always like blue.
Yeah, the ink itself is blue when it's exposed. Yeah, it's called cyanotype. So I guess the cyan part is because it's blue.
Yeah. Is this like an ancient old ink that they've been using for a long time, or is it recently developed?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't really know what the history of it is. It is like you can use it for like any kind of exposure. So like I've seen people put like transparencies with other sort of printings on it over top of things. You can also use fabrics. So you can like print out an image onto a transparency and put it over top of like a shirt that's been painted with that, and you can expose it with that image. So there's a lot of different ways you can use it. But yeah, the art, sort of creating art out of nature angle was specifically what kind of appealed to me. So
it sounds very like if I was the receiver of one of your print originals, I think I would feel immense love. Like somebody really cared and took it takes about 6 hours? How long do you have to expose it in the sunlight?
The actual exposure, I mean, if you get a sunny day, which it's a little hit and miss here in Washington, but if you get a sunny day, I've just been doing 30-minute for the actual exposure. But it is a process because you have to paint the thing and then you have to let it completely dry, and then you have to assemble your image, and then you cover it with a piece of glass and clamp it down and take it out into the sun, and then you have to take it back in, and then you have to basically wash off all of the undeveloped solution. So
Oh.
you put it in a little like tray of water and you rinse it and you let it sit in there for a few minutes, and then you take it out and then you dry it, and then it's done. So yeah, it is a bit of a process. And yeah, I do like, I put a lot of care and attention into the designs themselves. So I really try to like find objects that have some kind of like significance. Like I've done ones where like this one is berry themed, so there's like leaves from strawberries and blueberries and raspberries and things like that. So really trying to make like each one an actual art piece that's been created in like a thoughtful way, that hopefully people will enjoy.
That's
Sure.
so kind.
Yeah. Hey, don't forget to put a piece of moss on there.
Piece of moss.
Oh, of course, there will be moss as well. Yeah,
There will be moss.
Each one
there
has
will
a
be
moss.
moss.
Because what's the moss character's name?
It isn't really specifically stated in the book, but the character's name is Ode. The name of the book
Ode.
is the
Which
moss's
is
name.
Ode to God, like Ode.
Yeah.
But it's Latin, right? Ode. But
Yeah, I mean, I've just been saying ode as in like, ode to joy, like, yeah.
Steve is saying Kate.
Kate.
Okay.
So you can be like saying Ode was here. So every sign, no, whatever the thing, print, it all has a bit of a moss imprint.
Well,
I don't know. You don't have to. We're just brainstorming.
Kind of
Yeah.
brainstorming it a bit now. All right. Okay. So interesting storytelling. Again, like I said, if you guys get the chance, check it out, back it up. If you want to get an insight, go to the Substack. There's quite a bit of interesting read there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd love to kind of
stuff.
plug that a bit and explain what's going on the Substack. If now's a good time, or we can come back to it later.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I started this, I think it was like April of this year. So basically what I'm doing on there, I have now 3 comics that I've put out, which all technically take place within the same universe, but it is this very broad, loosely connected universe. So, there's like one story is in a post-apocalyptic setting and one is sort of medieval fantasy. And so they're very far apart from each other, but they do technically coexist in the same universe. But something that I wanted to do was just kind of like give people a little bit more of the sort of the connective tissue and some of the little peek under the hood of some of the larger kind of world building stuff behind all of this, so that you can kind of see more about how all the stories are connected. And so on the Substack, what I'm doing is once a month, I'm publishing short stories. So just prose, not as comics, but just short stories that are all taking place within the same universe. So just exploring different pockets of this world, revealing different elements of, some familiar concepts and even characters and settings that you would recognize from the comics. But also just giving a little more context and backstory for a lot of them. And they're all, individual self-contained short stories, so you don't have to read them in any particular order or anything like that. But the more you read, I think the more you'll start to sort of build out a little bit of a web of sort of connections of like, oh yeah, this relates to this and all that kind of stuff. And the other thing that I'm doing with those, because I can never just do one thing, is every one of the short stories also has a piece of original art and music that goes along with it. And so you'll see those at the top of each post. There'll be a little art piece and then a Bandcamp link to listen to the music. And it's all totally free. So it's an easy way for people to kind of dip their toe into the universe of my stories. If you're not ready to, take the plunge and buy a book, you can read some of my short stories on there for free and go from there.
There you go.
I read a couple of your Substacks, and
Thank you.
write very well.
I appreciate that.
Enjoyed it. Yeah. But I was reading more like your essays, your thoughts about like opinions about certain things in life, and yeah, it was very great.
Yeah,
That's something that we
I'm
need to
also.
get on ourselves, is to get on Substack, just so that we can. I'm going to use it more like a marketing tool. But
Yeah.
is that something that like Leanne and Les, do you guys use Substack?
I actually have a Substack, but it's kind of out of date at the moment. And I started it when I was in the hospital from my stroke. So most of what's on there has nothing to do with my art. It's all, there's quite a few entries on there that's kind of a journal from the early days of my stroke recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just I don't know, goofy, easy place to stick the stuff when I was in the hospital.
How about you, Leanne? Do you use like Substack or Patreon or anything like that?
I tried Patreon for a little bit, but I didn't promote it enough. It didn't really take off, and then I just stopped using it. I haven't tried Substack at all.
Okay.
What
Because
about
you're coming from the gaming industry, and you're trying to cross over into comics. Is that correct?
I'm actually just open to doing anything that's interesting and fun. So whether it's comic, video games, board games, I'm pretty much open as long as it's,
Okay.
having fun with art.
What character are you working on right there? It's a very you got a beautiful face down there, so I'm
Yeah.
just kind of curious.
It's Clea. There's a Clea.
Clea
Oh,
from
Doctor Strange?
Doctor
Doctor
Strange.
Strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
Nice.
That's looking really good. And that's a commission, you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's a cool
So tell us about you, Leanne. Like, how did you get started? And you've got it looks like you've got a pretty good resume working in the
Yeah.
gaming industry. Tell us about that and what you're trying to do now, because I see that you've been attending a lot of shows, at least like for this year. Tell us about you.
Yeah. So I'm big into video games, and I started working initially at Blizzard, and then I left to do an internship at Riot before they launched League of Legends. I don't know if you guys know that game. And then I went back to Blizzard, and then I briefly was at NCSoft, and then I just decided to do my own after visiting WonderCon and seeing Artist Alley. I thought that was a fun thing to do, so I decided to just give that a try, and I've been doing that for since 2016.
Oh wow, okay. That's got quite longer than I thought. You've been in here. So what kind of projects did you work on, like at Blizzard?
I mostly worked on post-production art stuff. I did some board game illustrations, and initially I started just doing screenshots and helping with advertising, marketing, getting photos for the website, for the box art and stuff like that.
Was it a good experience for you over there?
It was. I met a lot of good artists, and Blizzard at the time that I was working there had this thing called /learn, and they would have industry artists, professionals come and kind of talk about like software or their process. So you'd learn a lot of new things from different artists across the industries. So it was really neat.
Okay. So you say you're trying to be open and get like whatever you can. Are you currently working for a publisher or a gaming house right now?
No, I've just finished a cover for Dispatch, which is a video game I don't think they've launched yet. but they're
Mhm.
probably going to launch soon. And yeah,
Okay.
just doing comic conventions and commissions.
Okay. Are you actively putting in submissions with the publishers?
I'm not. I probably should,
Okay.
but I haven't.
Did we get cut off? Okay. Yeah. I think Marvel has open submissions at New York. That's coming up next week.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think Zenescope in Baltimore will have open submissions. I believe. I think so. Yeah. If you're looking to put in submissions, those are two that you could do there.
Is that for like
And
cover
you're
art?
because you're going to be at New York and Baltimore, and we're going to be there too. So it's kind of like we'll be almost kind of like traveling together to the same shows. Have you done those shows before?
I've done New York, but I haven't done Baltimore. How's that show?
Yeah, Baltimore will be our first time too. So kind of looking forward to that. Yeah. What are with the amount of shows that you do? What shows do you like doing now? What has been good for you?
San Diego has definitely been one of the
Oh yeah.
like
Okay.
best shows to do.
Yeah, San Diego seems to be good for everyone. Is there any other shows besides that one?
Have you guys were you guys at Dragon Con?
Yeah, we got Dragon Con. We do like. Haven't done it in a while, just because of scheduling. We were accepted this year, but I had to cancel it because they just couldn't confirm it with us soon enough. And by that time, I had like other shows confirmed. And then I decided that during that period, I didn't want to do any shows at all. I needed 10 weeks off to be able to work on other projects that we were on. So I let it go. Hopefully, they'll accept us for next year. Yeah. So, was that your first time doing Dragon Con?
No, I think I've done that for about 5 years now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's about 5 years since we've done it. I think the last time we did it was back in 2018. Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
it's a
nice.
good show. I like it. It's big. Gets in a lot of people, a wide variety of people. Quite a bit of art collectors there. Those are the type of shows that we do well at. So those are the ones I tend to target. How about you? Are you just doing shows, whatever you can get into, or are there specific shows that you target?
I try to target the bigger shows so that I don't lose out on table and travel costs. There have been some shows I've been in that just were really bad. So
Oh,
yeah.
what shows are those?
I don't know if I should be naming these bad shows. There was in Miami Otaku Fest.
Okay. Yeah. There's that, and then people talk about the SuperCon, which is in Miami as well. That's put out by Reed.
Oh
Reed
yeah.
Pop.
I did do
Yeah.
that one. I
Okay,
barely made it.
Right. Yeah, I did it. We did it. It was the first time that Reed Pop took over, and it wasn't good. And I'm hearing people that did it in the last 2 years is still pretty much the same. Problem that con has, it started out as more of a cosplay anime con, and Reed Pop is trying to convert it over, but they're just having a hard time drawing the crowd. I don't think they found the right angle to turn that around, but that is something that they're working on.
Oh,
So Leanne, like knowing that you had a background like Blizzard and Riot, which is League of Legends, like you mentioned, when I look at your art, at least the one that I saw at the con,
Mhm.
it is very different from the Blizzard, that kind of like highly rendered epic level type of art. So was your style like that, and then you just switched to very something whimsical and adorable? I mean, or how did you develop this style?
My style actually is, I think, like with my comic book heroines and villains, it's Bruce Timm actually inspired that, because I grew up watching Batman the animated series and Justice League. I really liked his style, so for the females, definitely from his works.
Yeah.
And then from the Disney stuff that I do is, I don't know, I just kind of, I actually don't know how that developed. It was a while ago and it just came to me.
Have you been to, by any chance, Seattle, like Ace Con or Emerald?
Yeah, I've done Emerald City.
But what about Ace?
Ace is no longer existing. It was kind of like a, almost like a subsidiary of Wizard comics back then. They were trying to like come back as Ace, but they're no longer around. In fact, a lot of the people that used to be for Ace have already moved on. One of the guys, really good guys, now working for Reed Propaganda part of that. So we got along with him, so that helps us in our favor. So that's pretty good. Yeah.
The reason why I'm asking was one of my art friends, used to be art friend, she's a huge fan of your work, Leanne.
Used to be?
Because it fell out of touch.
Okay.
And you were tabling at one point. It was in Seattle, I remember, at least, I think.
Okay.
And she was so scared to talk to you.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember
yeah.
now. She was totally enamored
Yeah.
with your work, and she wanted to approach you, but she was so scared.
And Leanne, I was actually scared as well. So both of us were just stare. The closest we walked up to you were 2 tables away, discreetly watching you a little bit, and then walked away. That was the closest ever. And I would never predicted that I would actually have you on my show, like 6-7 years later, and you'll be talking right here like we're comfortable. I just want you to know I am very starstruck. That's my story. Okay. We were so scared. I kid you not. 2 tables. We couldn't even get to the first table. We were just like away in the man. We're just like spying on you. I'm sorry. It's very creepy.
Why were you scared? I would have been. I don't bite.
We were terrified.
God.
That you were gonna it was like approaching a tiger. You know, like you admire the tiger so much that you go close, they'll eat you. It had to survive for some reason.
How about you, Les? Do you have that problem approaching somebody that you admire and like?
Nope.
Wait,
Nobody shoot all with that.
Romance don't count, okay?
Everybody puts pants on the same way.
Exactly. I don't have that problem either.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
I don't know.
I mean, I will maintain a certain amount of respectful decorum, of course, but I mean,
yes,
but that's not really that special for somebody that I'm a fan of. I mean, that's just kind of how I treat people. So.
Yeah. Okay. What about you, Travis? My brother. Do you feel the same? Do you understand me?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've been starstruck a few times before, where it's when you just sort of you've like spent so much time appreciating someone's work and like admiring them from afar. It's weird to just be next to them and like talk to them like a normal person. Also, I just have like general social anxiety, so you know, going up to somebody I don't know and talking to them is hard enough when they're not famous, or, you know, so.
I don't approach people at the con too much, you know, unless I'm, you know, I really want to meet them. And I've met a lot of people already, but I always, when I meet someone, I never want to say, I don't like starting up and saying, God, I really admire your work, blah, blah, blah. I'll start off with something more crazy and like kind of like off the beat. You know, like, do you always hold your pencil like that? You know, something like that, you know?
Yeah. But the truth is, the only thing that's going in my head is like, oh my God, I've been a fan. I really admire your work. That's all I can say. And one time I did do this in front of some guy. I mean, not that I liked him like that. It was the work. And I said it 7 times in a row. And Mel happened to be there. And he poked at me and whispered, you said this 7 times. And then we walked away. I was so embarrassed.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Well, on some level, like, you don't want to just, you know, pretend you don't know their work, right? Because like that feels like a weird opposite thing of like you're lying about, you know, knowing them from somewhere else. So it's like you want to acknowledge it and tell them that you appreciate their work, but also like keep it chill and not get too weird about it. It's a hard balance.
I like to ask people what they do outside of this stuff. What do you
that's what I'm kind of like interested in. You know, I mean, I already know you do the artwork and stuff like that, right? But I want to know like what else do you do? You know, I'm interested, you know, in that, like, what are your other interests, right? Because then that kind of gives me a different angle to that person that I might be able to get closer by. Right. So if you tell me that you like horses, right, then I might bring up a subject about horses, right? Because everybody's already talking to you about the artwork or the story that you've worked on, you know. So I want to change it up, right? I want to.
It's refreshing when somebody's talking about something other than the stuff.
Well, that's why you're good at hosting a show like this, Mel. Like, you know.
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, like if you traveled than me, and we suddenly ask the same question like Les, so what else are you into? It sounds so creepy. Like what? Why do you want to know? Are you hitting on me? It just comes off so wrong. But you know, I mean, if it comes out of our mouth.
Yeah, but if you've been watching this show, we've been doing. This is what, our 3rd year now. We're going on 4 years. My questions on the show are kind of like basically the same, because it's trying to introduce the guest to our audience, right? And they have the basic questions like, who are you? What are you working on? What do you do? Blah, blah, blah. So it's hard for me to change those questions, you know, but I might like put a little twist on it just to make it sound a little more interesting or a little bit different. But they're basically the same questions. Now, unless you've been here like a few times, like you have, Tavis, then, you know, there's a little bit of a history. So I may ask some of those questions again, and then I'm going to veer off into something different that you do. Like the first time you were here, we talked about how you were also a musician, because in the back you had a guitar showing, right? So we talked about that, right? And again, we touched on that today by bringing up that, you know, on your Substack you have those short stories, and if you listen to it, you can hear read the story and listen to the music, right? So there's that. It's always good to find those things out, which creates makes your guest or the person you're talking to look a little rounder, right? More alive. That there's more to them than just what you know, right? So I'm always interested to find that out.
Yeah, fully human. Imagine that.
With Les, we've talked about food. And there's people in the audience that are waiting for us to talk about food again.
Some people, they really don't want to divulge their personal things. They're very private. So you have to kind of somehow be able to read that energy and not ask questions.
Well, you can pry, okay? And if you feel there's a resistance, then you back off,
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there's always a way, and that applies to everyone. You're gonna try to touch on topics, and then you get a feel. Okay, is this something that they want to talk about? If it doesn't sound like it, then you just back up and change the subject. Let's see. Stevie B writes, I saw Wallace Shawn carrying his dry cleaning, shared an elevator with Julie Hoggerty, and ran into Pat Cooper in Penn Station. Wow.
Wow, it's such a show off. Serious, it's a show off. I don't know. What about you, Leanne?
Yeah, inconceivable is right. That's just like way too good to be true. All at once.
Do you also, what about you? Do you get like, oh my God, are you like Les? Just say whatever to the guy. I mean,
I usually, I just say, oh, I love your art, and I really don't know what to say to them. Actually, usually I just buy from them and say I love their art.
Yeah,
it's like they haven't heard that all day.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. Yeah. So
it sounds so insincere. All I can say is I love your art. I mean, even when I say it, I want to say that to you, Leanne, but I felt like you might think of like I'm lip servicing you, but it's not,
Well, I think they know they're not lip servicing. They know that you're genuine, because that's what when you're at a show, especially at a show, they know that's what you're there for. Okay, so it's not going to be not appreciated. They get it, right, and they actually get that you're also starstruck. Okay, and
what sucks is when you
but they know that's something that you got to work at. And stuff. Yeah, but it's like go ahead.
It really blows when there's somebody who you really admire and you meet them and they turn out to be a jerk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I had that experience many times.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's why.
I mean I've only had that happen a couple times, John Byrne, but
John Byrne?
Oh yeah, John Byrne is one.
John Byrne's
a dick. John Byrne is not okay.
John Byrne is that way. People have said a lot of things about Neil Adams as well.
Yeah.
Howard Chaykin has a mouth. The list goes on and on. There are people out there.
I'll stick up for Neil Adams.
A bit,
Neil let me sit behind the table with him for like 2.5 hours in New Orleans in 2020 before he died.
Oh, well, shit.
So,
I mean, okay.
Yeah.
So with you, he was more. That was more of an exception. Okay.
And well, the funny thing, the whole reason
normally do.
The whole reason is I was just standing politely watching him sketch, wasn't saying anything, and I can't remember what he said, but he looked up and he was like, "Oh, you're there. Somebody's there. Hey, what's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I was just taking a few minutes. It's a slow day here at the show. Wanted to walk over and see what you're doing." And obviously, I was like, "You're one of the reasons why I do what I do. You probably hear that all the time, but just wanted to watch for a minute and that sort of thing." And it was a really slow show. And he says to me, "How did you first run into my work?" And I said, "Honestly, it was in torn up old comics sitting in the corner of the milking room in the barn where I grew up. And I was milking cows with Batman comics you drew sitting on my knee while I'm milking a cow." And he kind of cocks his head and he goes, "I've never heard that one before." And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, where you from? And I told him, and it turned into a conversation. Said something about being, from out in the country and not having indoor plumbing till I was 11. And when I said the thing about indoor plumbing, he smiled real big. He goes, "Back in the day in Brooklyn, we didn't either." And at that point, he was like, "Come have a seat, kid."
There you go.
And he was super cool.
Oh my God.
There's with that, the kind of character that Neil has, right? And people can talk negative about him in that way, but he did some really, really good things for the industry.
Yes.
Without him, we would not have the appreciation of art that we have today, at least not at this level. If it started out later, it may not be as good as it is now. But he's the one that saw that the artists were not appreciating their own work, and they were allowing it to get destroyed. And Neil put a stop to that, and changed the whole industry around. Got the companies to return the art back to the artists, so this way they could appreciate it and sell it and make money off of it, because the companies paid for the work to get done, but that did not include paying for the original art and being able to keep it. Right? It was a big tax issue for Marvel and DC if they claimed that it was part of the pay that they did for those pages, because they did not pay taxes on it, which they should have. So Neil got them really good on that.
I recently did work for a company who will remain nameless, who I will not be working for again, because at my rates, they said that they demanded ownership of the originals.
Whoa.
And I was like, no. I mean, I did a little bit for them just to see how it would go, but then it's nope, not doing that. Because I sell my originals. That's a big deal.
Yeah, because what they pay for is not really, what do you call it? It doesn't really substantiate the amount of time and work that you put into it. And you're just kind of like getting the end result, right? So that's why the artwork is allowed to be kept by the artist, so that way they can hopefully sell it, which most of the time they don't, and be able to get compensated better for the amount of time and effort that they put into the art that they produce.
Speaking of New York,
they were this particular set of people were saying they're like, yeah, we're buying the art. And I'm like, well, you're buying the right to publish it. And they're like, no, we're buying the art. We want the physical art as well.
Then the rate is going to be different.
Yeah, I'm like, then you need to pay more.
Yeah, the page rate will be much higher.
Yep.
Yeah, if they're willing to do that, pay the higher page rate, and you can agree on it, sure.
That sounds amateurish. Like, sounds like a guy from a con who commissions you. Like, I'm going to pay you this much, so give me all of it. Give me the originals. Not knowing how it really works.
These are folks who've been in the game for quite a few years. And I really, but I, for legal reasons, I won't say who it was. It was a bad situation. And, I basically managed to get out cleanly. Here you go. I'll push that up so you can see the rest of her. Woohoo!
Oh,
nice.
Wow.
So,
speaking of Neil Adams, I remember reading a bio of him, and one thing that was interesting was, because I got into this heated debate with a fine art professor.
Oh God! As soon as you say the words "fine art," my hackles go up.
Well, that's fighting words.
So what he was telling me was, what I'm doing is not real art. It's just commercial, and we're just selling our souls. So you're not even thinking art. You're just 18 or something, and it's not real, right? Because you're making money from it. Real art, you're not supposed to make any money from it. It's supposed to be created without even thinking money, right? And we just got into debate to the point where Mel said, just be quiet. And Mel, you just screwed up that one. Mel said, it's enough.
Screwed up.
You got to tap the thing. The connection wire must have gone. You have to replug it. But what I finally, like, after a couple years later, I was reading about Neil Adams, and he had the same debate with a fine artist, right? And what he said was this: nobody in comics does comics for money. We do it because we love it. If we can't make any money from comics. it's because of love. So we are doing fine art more than you guys.
Yep.
That was the answer, and I was completely 100% agree. It really comes from love. It's not like
I've been in and around the comic book business, production and art and everything for 32 years now. And I spent 20 something of that away from actual comic production to do animation and other stuff because comics didn't pay. And the fact that I've managed to migrate everything now to where I'm full-time comics and paying my bills and making a pretty good living with it is that is not the norm by any stretch, because I've lived the norm for decades. And this is fine art. And anybody who wants to have those words with me, I will have a nasty argument with him for that. That's one where I will just go scorched earth. So, but then again, I'm the dude who happily went to the Met in New York when there was a Picasso exhibit so that I could pick one that I absolutely despised and talk about it loud enough for the snooty bastards there to overhear, just to see their faces, the shock on their faces. Pure joy. I was like 20 years old. It was pure joy to absolutely rip the snot out of Picasso, who I do think is a complete hack, in front of these people. And that was fun. I might have some aggression and confrontationalist issues. I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is because at Dragon Con, right? There's actually a separation between the fine artists and our people that do
they put it in a separate
art.
building.
Yeah, but there's in the building where they have Artist Alley, which is on the 4th floor, and all the floors beneath that are they're like exhibitors, right?
Vendors.
Right, but you'll see some of the artists there. Who's
Elmore.
Elmore is there because he doesn't want to be with the fine art.
Of course
art group. Yeah. So guys like him are there because they just don't agree with it as well.
Larry Elmore is originally from about 10 minutes from where I grew up in Eastern Kentucky, by the way.
There you go. But you see his booth at Dragon Con.
Yeah, it's always the front almost.
And then you see what he sells that stuff for. And then he sells out by the time Dragon Con reaches its end. That guy is making major bucks, which is great. Okay, but it just kind of tells you where that art is today, right? So you want to go and do your fine art thing, that's fine. But in our neck of the woods, we can get fine art money as well.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah.
I've said for a long time, those who can do and those who can't call it fine art, so they don't have to.
Yeah. I don't get some of the fine art stuff.
That's pretty ouch what you
said.
But
yeah. Taping a banana to a canvas, stuff like that, and calling that fine art, and then selling it for millions of dollars. I don't get it, but yeah, okay.
But that goes to show, one of the essay that Tavis wrote. I'm not going to name the title, but he said there was a quote there that was interesting. He said, "Please tell me if I'm wrong, okay, Tavis? You made a quote that just because you put time and effort into something, it doesn't automatically mean it's going to be valuable. It'll only be valuable, I think you said, if it's with a value goal or something." Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, basically, if you don't apply your time and effort to something valuable, there's nothing inherently valuable about time and effort if they're not applied to something, a valuable pursuit. I think
how do we know? how do you know if it's a valuable pursuit?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a very complicated question. And I think there's a lot of different forms value can take as well. And especially when you're talking about art, a lot of times we measure value in like what someone's willing to pay for it, or, the reaction that somebody has. So yeah, there's not just one answer to that necessarily, but I think the context, I mean the write-up article, whatever you're referencing there, was specifically talking about AI art, and some of the sort of societal underpinnings and things that I saw as being like part of what gave AI art some of its appeal. And a common like rebuttal that I hear from people, like when they're defending AI art, is they're essentially saying like, well, it's not as simple as like typing something into, whatever program and then you just get a finished product. Like it takes time and effort, there's a whole process involved in it. And so that's specifically referencing like, the time and the effort that you're putting into that specific pursuit, which from what I've observed, I've, taken the time to like look up people who use AI art and like watch tutorials and things of people going through their process. And like, what I think most of that time boils down to that they're referring to is like, they have to go in and like fix all the wonky hands that AI still can't do well. And they have to like fix the continuity errors because AI has no concept of like characters and making them look consistent from, panel to panel if you're doing a comic or whatever. So in my mind, putting time and effort into just fixing the mistakes that AI has made, but just replacing it with other AI art, I don't think is like a valuable pursuit, because you're essentially now just the assistant to the AI, rather than actually being the artist yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I can go with that.
Yeah.
Stevie B writes, when it comes to fine art, Sigmund Freud said it best. Sometimes a banana is just a banana. And I just want to eat it.
The banana.
Yeah.
Well,
see, now I'm wanting to ruin this Eva piece by having a big banana coming down from the upper left corner. That'd be so terrible. That expression on her face, but then there's this big banana arcing down in there. It's completely stupid. If somebody wants to throw me $250 for it, I will put the banana in if they want it. That's right. I'm upping the commercial viability. $250 and she gets the banana.
Oh, you sold your soul. It's not real art now.
My soul likes to pay bills.
Do any of your vendors take bananas?
Anyway, what do you think, Leanne? Well, I don't know. Did you ever have that debate with another artist about what fine art is?
No, not really. Though I actually went to UCI and got a art degree, and it was all about fine art and high art, and like I learned about Marcel Duchamp and with the urinal, and yeah.
Oh, ouch!
No, I apologize if you offended you.
Makes me groan.
But that's the thing. That's what the colleges, universities push, because that's something that they feel that they can teach and say that you're gonna have if you pursue this career, you have a chance of making good money. Try saying that about somebody that wants to learn how to do comics. Right?
Going for a fine art degree is a great way to become a barista.
Yeah, we've seen that happen. Right? very few colleges. It's mainly some of the smaller ones that do have classes on like how to make comics. Cal State Fullerton is one of them.
I taught at a small college in Lexington, Kentucky back in 2001. Really just because I had intended to be a teacher, but I bailed on it, thank God, because I hate bureaucracy. Bureaucracy hates me, and it's a good way to see buildings burn. But a friend got me into teach animation at a small school in Lexington, Kentucky. And this school touted this like high job placement, our graduates, blah, 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 blah. And then once I got in there, I was like, wait a minute. You are placing them at anything. McDonald's, Starbucks, anything. They're not getting placed in their career of choice. They're not getting placed in what they're here to learn. And I was teaching fourth-year students. And my first night, I asked the class if anyone could volunteer for me the difference between raster and vector imaging. No hands went up on a fourth year. And I'm like, you know what? This is complete garbage. And like ever since then, whenever anybody says, what kind of school what school should I go to? I'm like, don't. Save your money. You'll be better served taking that money and saving it and using it to live on while you're getting up and running. The only school I know of that I actually would send anybody to is Gnomon, Gnomon.
Okay. I used to be of that thought that you needed to go to school to get an education, to become a rounded person, because there's other things that you need to know. Okay, but now that I've been in this on the art side of things with MOG, I've actually had a 180 turn now, right? Because I see that they're not really teaching the kind of skills that will get you a job, and they're not giving you everything that you need to know. It's better to save your money, like you said, and learn it on your own. You've got YouTube, and they show everything there, right? And there's people that you can follow. Yeah.
If you're really hell bent to go to a school, go to Gnomon or go to the Joe Kubert School of Cartooning and Design in New Jersey. That is the school for, like, if you want to do comics, you go to Kubert. That's just it. If you're going to go to a school, go to Kubert. Otherwise, you can learn. There's like a handful of books that I always tell people to get, and then there's plenty of things on YouTube. I mean, the internet now makes it all. I wish this were there when I was a kid. So
yeah.
But I'm old now. Old fart.
Yeah, I agree with you. You can learn a lot of things off the internet now.
Yeah, but can we get back to Leanne? Like, I think she said she had a fine art major, right?
Yes.
So what made you change into
what made you come to the dark side?
Yeah, what's the dark side? What happened?
So I actually, when I graduated with my degree, it was pretty useless. I didn't really learn anything.
Point made.
Yeah, there was a lot of regret there. And so, yeah.
Aren't you gonna be crucified by the fine art department for saying?
Okay, so let me ask this though. Did you decide to go into fine art on your own, or were you counseled to go into that?
Yeah, what happened?
I always liked art, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life in college. So I was like, might as well go into art. But I really wish I had just taken a bunch of like life drawing classes at like a junior college, which is what I did after I graduated from UCI. And that helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I went to Gnomon, actually a couple 3D classes at Gnomon. And then there's a school called Concept Design Academy in Pasadena, California. And
oh yeah,
that's a pretty good one too to go to.
That is a good one. Yeah.
But Nomen is, I agree about Nomen too, but it's hella expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Most of them are.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even SCAD in Savannah.
Would you say Nomen was more expensive, or the concept was expensive, or were they the same?
Nomen was more expensive. Concept Design Academy, when I took it, was around 600 or so per class for, I think.
Oh yeah, that's
10
okay. That's not too bad. Not too as high.
No.
See, what was I going to say now? God, I forgot my train of thought.
Sorry, I interrupted you, Mel. I apologize.
It's funny talking about that stuff, because one of the things that kind of this is it's funny that this would be able to insert in this for me, is that I have said a number of times in private and public conversations, if my life has a purpose, which I believe it does, that purpose is to eventually open my own school. But I have an entirely different approach to teaching and the way that I want to teach art and animation and all this different stuff than what I've experienced, what I've heard anecdotally and what I've seen from people who've worked in education. So, it's like one of these days, I have a theory for how a school can be built for this stuff that teaches through project-based learning, where the students actually make money instead of spending it.
That is the problem. Okay, and it doesn't just apply to this field. It applies to everything. Okay, because even no matter what it is, they teach you the skill that you need for that job, but they don't really teach you the complete things that you need to know, like how to get that job, how to deal with that job, and so forth. For example, okay, this is my true experience. Okay, I got through accounting, and I was graduated second at the top of my class. Got a job lined up before I even graduated. Okay, went through graduation and everything. Reported for work on the very first day. I was there early, on time, and everything. And I was super excited to start this job in accounting. Okay, they brought me in, gave me a tour of the place, got my coffee. They told me what they wanted me to do today, right? And before 10 a.m., right? I've been there less than 2 hours, and by 10 a.m., I had already decided I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. What the hell did I just go through? I went through all those years, and here I am saying this. I do not want to do this for the rest of my life. I was stuck. Eventually I got out of it, but they just don't prepare you for everything that you need to know. They give you the skills and they send you out there, but there are other things that you need to know which they didn't tell you about.
Which goes back to, like, you know what? That's kind of like, I'm going a little meta here, but like the Moss story, Ode by Travis.
Yeah.
It's about existentialism. Like, somehow we all are born with a purpose. Maybe the Moss will find out the purpose. Why did he go through all of this, taking years for this? You don't know the answer, but maybe like also for you, that's the purpose, like opening a school and actually teaching. And I bet you, if you do like a real life teaching where they're getting money and you're dealing with customers and everything, probably half of the people are going to drop out because it's not what they imagined.
Well, the idea behind it was kind of inspired by a combination of two things. One, my own experience, because everything I do, I'm self-taught. And then the other element of that is what I believe allowed me to be good at teaching myself things was a concept that my dad had as I was growing up, and any new thing that I wanted to learn how to do, he would always say, well, what do you already know that's similar to that or has something in common with it? and I developed this pedagogical theory of what I call relativistic learning, where I probably would never have passed a math class had it not been for music, because I could relate relate what happens with numbers to music, because music is math based. There's so many different parallels, different things. Like it was very easy for me to learn video editing, because video editing was just like music, only it was with images instead of notes. Images, notes, well, they're both events, replacing them over time, similar, animations, same thing. All of these things have numerous ways they relate to each other. And when you learn to learn by relating things to something you already know, you'll find that you can jumpstart your learning really quickly across the board. And I've never seen a school teach based on that.
No, I think that they try to keep you dumb in a way, so that way you believe that you need to take their classes. And yeah.
But I think one school that really needs, maybe you do have to go to school, is music. I think it's hard to self learn by yourself. What do you think? You're a musician.
No, I taught myself guitar when I was a kid, but by the time I was 12, I was teaching classical guitar at a college.
You can absolutely teach yourself music, like a lot of aspects of it, at least, especially now, with YouTube and all that stuff. I think, some people are better at that type of learning than other people. Some people are just, sort of able, like I think one of the big skill sets is just, if you're learning something on YouTube, being able to like see something that someone else is doing and sort of be able to mimic that, essentially, like mirror neurons or whatever that is. Some people are really good at that, where they can like look at something someone else is doing and be able to more or less recreate it and then sort of refine it. Whereas some people's brains just don't work that way. And it's like, they may be doing a lot of things wrong and not even realize it. And so, then they benefit from having somebody look at what they're doing and tell them, okay, you should, adjust this and whatever. And obviously I'm coming at this from a very self-serving place, because my day job is as a music teacher. So I need to believe that there's a reason for me to exist and do that. But
I will agree with you.
Like a lot of people come to lessons saying like, I've tried to teach myself this way and it's not working, and then things just click once you can kind of like get direct feedback from somebody. So
yes, exactly.
It's my firm belief that a teacher's primary job is actually mentoring. Like I feel like a teacher, I feel like the most important thing you can do as a teacher is be there to answer questions and to help give nudges and things like that, and to help shepherd things. But oftentimes I see people who go into classes and they're like, okay, if I do what I'm told in this class, I'll come away able to do X. And it's like, well, yeah, you may be able to make that widget. Is that all you're going to do with that? Case in point, there's a young lady I know who I was just speaking with the other day. She is an amazing violinist. Amazing. And I was talking to her about music, and we were having this great discussion about music theory, and I nerd out big time over music stuff. And it was cool. And then I started asking her about composition. I was like, have you, it's like with this amount of skill and knowledge, you have to have written some interesting stuff. Oh, I don't write. Oh, I don't write. I just perform. I just perform what, and I'm like, it boggled my mind. I'm like, how can you develop these skills and be happy to keep them right there and not express your own voice? I mean,
a lot of people do express their own voices by interpreting the compositions of other people. I mean, that's like a lot of classical musicians spend their entire careers like performing music written by other people. But there's incredible room for expression within that in the way that you interpret, you know, Beethoven or whatever. And yeah, like for some people that is their mode of self-expression. Even if they didn't write the notes, they're expressing themselves through the interpretation and the performance.
It's just something that I can't grasp it. It doesn't register with me.
Another thing to the point of like learning, you know, like at a school or by yourself or whatever, a lot of it kind of comes down to what your goals are, because like some people are really good at just learning things by ear, and they can listen to a song and they can figure out how to play it. And, you know, maybe they don't read a note of music, but they have a very good ear. And so they can like navigate that. But then like, if you want to be a session musician and you're put into certain situations where someone puts a sheet of music in front of you and you need to know how to read that, or they're using certain vocabulary when they're talking about certain terms, like a lot of people that are self-taught may just not know, you know, certain ways of talking about music or thinking about music. And so it's harder to communicate with, you know, somebody in a session setting who's, you know, just trying to get you on the same page of what you need to do. So, you know, there's just certain skill sets that, you know, you may need to acquire depending on what your goals are. But, you know, not all of those need to be taught in a school setting, you know.
I think what piggybacking to what Tavis you said, Les, it's basically neurodivergence. We're just all born different. You actually have a very special ability to correlate everything, right? That's
everything relates.
Freaking amazing. Yeah, but you know that is actually a rare ability, because there was this test. There's this test you can even do online where it talks about how visual thinker are you. So I say about there's a red apple, right? And then immediately in your head, we can picture on various degrees of detail what the red apple looks like. But majority of the test comes out like 60 to 70%. It's not even an image. It's just a concept. They can't even visualize it. Yes, it's actually very common. You and I are more like on the uncommon side. If you can visualize it to very like crispy detail. I mean, for me, in my head, there's so many details going on, like it's just like a picture. But what's interesting is I have a fine artist. This is not the fine art, like the abstract one. The one like actually does the traditional art that looks photorealistic. She makes a killing doing realistic, like nature, like birds, still life, whatever, right? She can't do it. She can't. When you say red apple, she can't. She didn't pass the test, but she's still doing visual art. So, like, I think the lady that you talked about, like the classical violinist, maybe she's that type where you're just neurodivergently, maybe they can't visualize or auditory-wise connect things, you know. So that's like elaborating what Travis said. Everybody's different. The way they learn is different.
I think that it's quite possible that you could take someone who was actually not their personality is not geared necessarily toward creativity, and teach them a skill that is performative, that yields what looks like a creative output, but they weren't really being creative in it because they were dictating. And that's something that I see people do all the time with things. I see artists in comics who drive me absolutely bonkers, who I'm like, wow, you've got amazing skill at looking like this guy or looking like this guy. But, you know, it's like, I want to know what you have to offer, you know? And I'm kind of super energetic about like really trying to encourage people to push deep into that, because so I'm 51 years old, right? I'm not sure how much time I have left on this planet, but you know what? I love this stuff. This is what I enjoy. When I'm not making things, I'm consuming things. And if people are out there learning and building skills, and then they have the wherewithal to attempt to do creative things, that means, I mean, it's not a selfless thing. That means there's a higher likelihood that there's going to be new, interesting things in the world that I can enjoy. That's it. I want people to be creative. Human creativity is one of the most, I think it's possibly the most powerful, tangible thing ever. I mean, it's human creativity. We wouldn't have cars if somebody didn't have the creativity to dream up, you know, that thing, that item, that construct. And to me, it all relates. It's all in the same vein of stuff. And I'm always pushing people on that. I'm like, when people are like, of course, at the same time, when somebody looks at me, when I was much younger, I was a real dick about this stuff. Somebody would look at me drawing or playing guitar and say, "Oh, I wish I could," and I would just look at them and go, "No, you don't. If you really wished you could, you would. You would put in the work and you would do it. So don't say that. You can say you appreciate it, but don't say I wish I could, because you don't, or you would. You know."
Okay.
No, that's me. Okay, I wish I really can. By the way, but I just don't have the focus to do. Okay, don't be too harsh on it.
I wish I had time to learn a lot of things. Like, there are a lot of skills that I know that I could learn, but like, there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah, everything does come down to trade-offs. You know, there's no, what is that saying? There's no victories, only trade-offs. So, like, to draw really well, you may have had to sacrifice a boatload of time in your life.
You're right.
I agree with you, because I constantly tell Mom, you know, instead of taking 4 hours to cook, you could take 1 hour, so that we have 3 more hours to spend on.
You know, I like as a kid, I did not have a social life at all, and I still don't. I've never had a social life. Never cared to, didn't give a crap, because I'm like, why would I want to go watch a football game when I could be practicing my guitar, or practicing drawing, or practicing sculpting, or making, I've always looked at pretty much everything in life and was able to go, okay, what's the value of that? Does that have enough value for me to invest my time in it? If yes, invest. If no, get it gone.
Oh, so it's like, if you're talking about deep, like, ultimate love, it would incite you to act on it, not just love it. That's what you say, you admire it, but that's not really love, is what you're saying. Like
one of the things that everybody here does creative things. We all do art, writing, so on, and music, so on and so forth. So we've all heard this, where somebody says, "You're so talented," right? We've all heard it. And my it's not a comeback, but my comment to people who say that is, what do you think talent is? And there's a snarky way you can say it, and there's a nice way you say it. But seriously, define talent for me. What is talent? And usually people kind of go, they don't have an answer. Well, I have my answer for that. It might not be the answer, but I have my answer for that. My answer for what is talent is, it's an equation. It's determination, desire plus determination plus discipline. You want to do a thing, you become determined to do the thing, and you put in the discipline to learn to do the thing. And the end result of that is what, to the person who doesn't do that, the end result of that is what will appear as talent.
I'm going to push back a little bit on that definition, because I do think there's like elements of certain natural inclinations that people have. Everybody's brains work differently, and there's some things that I think we're more innately good at than others, and I think that's a big aspect of what people are getting at when they talk about talent. I do think that the importance of that sort of talent is overinflated by sort of the general population, and obviously that talent is worthless without the willingness to put in the time and the effort to develop the skills. But yeah, like at any level of any art or skill, like there's certain people who excel more at certain things because their brains are just wired a certain way. I think what a lot of people miss, though, like with something like music, it's such a broad discipline that involves so many different types of skills that there's nobody who's just good at music and not good at music. There's individual aspects of music that some people are better at, and some people, it's more challenging for them. And so a lot of what like succeeding in something like music is like learning what your strengths are, cultivating those strengths, and then learning what your weaknesses are, and working on them and developing them to the extent that you can. And it's sort of that balance, and also that interplay of those strengths and weaknesses is kind of what brings the individuality to somebody. Like when you're a musician, those strengths really shine, and that's part of your individual identity as that type of artist.
Yeah, I'm very glad that I was able to grow up in a time where we had Prince.
Absolutely.
Yeah, when you've got somebody who you can see do all these different things and is just high functioning across the board. I mean, that little man is one of my all-time favorite musicians is Prince. And because, here's a guy who at 17 years old would mop floors to get a chance to be in a recording studio. That goes in, does it all himself, figures it out, does it all himself, and continues to do it. Like there are things in music technology we have today because he wanted them to exist, and he worked with people that was like, yeah, this should work like this. And they're like, okay, we'll do that. It's like, wow. My point being, I'm very happy to have grown up in a time where we had some people like that. I'm not sure who today we can look to who is like that. I'm sure they're out there, but back then I know there were at least a couple of those people we could look to, and I always loved, like Trent Reznor is another one who I adore like that. And it's because, these are people who absolutely refused to be limited by any kind of boundaries. And they're just like, nope. I want to write an orchestral score today. I'm going to figure out how to write that orchestral score. I want to play drum, whatever it was, I'm going to figure it out. And I just, that mindset to me is something that, God, I want that mindset to be shared more broadly. I get passionate about that because that's something that I really, I've always had that mindset. I picked it up. My father had it. I've looked at people who have it. I look for people who have that. And I just, God, it just amazes me to think how much people are capable of if they can start breaking those boundaries down and being able to learn and, start jumping from thing to thing and put them together and find new ways to do things. It gets me going.
That sounds like to me what you're saying is like the gumptions or the willpower or the drive to pursue it. I don't think that's almost like learning capability. It's an emotional thing, like a value-driven thing.
I don't know. I think it can go both, because
I wonder how many,
like what Rex is doing. I think you can teach that.
You can teach emotion.
Well, you can teach how to approach that or how he brings over what he's learned before into what he's trying to learn that's new. Those skills. Okay.
It's like the courage to just go and do whatever you want.
But that's
like I don't think
that's part of it, though.
Thing. Can you teach emotion?
Well, you're not. I don't think you're trying to teach.
You can encourage it. It's encouraging fearlessness.
Yeah, right. But if you tell them how they can approach it, right? And I mean, that's basically what I try to do with my son. Okay, I try to give him the skills early on to have that the way how you look at something, the way how you solve a problem. There is a way, and that you've just got to figure out like how you're going to do it. And so I try to give them those skills on how to think or how to have that right attitude to
you got to
go
get them
about
out.
that.
You got to get them out to the edge of the diving board. Then you talk to them all nice and soft, and you coach them, and you tell them, "Hey, you can do this. You can do this." And then you give them a Spartan kick.
Oh my God.
But you encourage them in some way. Sometimes you could be like giving them a reward or something, but they learn, right? Once they get the feeling that they've completed it, they achieved the goal, right? And you keep building on that. It builds that confidence and all that. Anyway, guys, we are out of time.
Oh my gosh.
All right. So, but before we go, there's a couple of things that we need to take care of. Let's take a look at the art that we have here. Okay. There has been no bids tonight. Mog is finalizing the Psylocke piece, which is a little bit different from what you're normally seeing on Psylocke with the gear that she has on there. But 200 on that. Christina, nice to see you. Thanks for coming on the last minute.
Yeah.
And then we have Les's Eve on there. Okay, beautiful as ever.
Wow.
Okay, and if you take a look at Leanne's their piece, okay, she's working on a Tomb Raider.
Oh my God.
Okay, so there you have that.
So beautiful.
All right, so now next week, it is going to be a buy for us as we're going to New York Comic Con.
Woohoo!
We'll be there with Leanne with a bunch of people, so there won't be a show next week. Now, however, the following week we'll be in Baltimore, and we've got an Airbnb that we're going to be sharing with Kyle, and also with us is Eric Basulua, aka Ebess, will also be with us, and we're going to have a special show that week. And everything isn't confirmed, but I can tell you kind of like who's going to be there. Trish Forstner will be there, probably Tony Fleece, and we're also working on Marissa Pope and Mike DeBalco. They seem to be kind of excited about it, but they haven't given me the confirmation yet, so you can look forward to that. And then when we come back the following week, we have Chris Madd and Becca Kenzie. No, not Becca Kenzie. Jen Leonard will be back with us then. And Ebats will be coming on that show as well. That's something that we had scheduled earlier. The week of Baltimore, that's actually warming up last minute. So that's totally new.
Chris Madd about Owensville, Kentucky.
Okay, will do. I'm not sure if I'm going to see him in Europe, but I'll ask him right now. In that last week of October,
that's the town I grew up in, and he and I met, and he actually lived there at one point, which blew my mind. So,
okay. So the last week in October, it's Monster Night, and we've got a heck of a lineup going on that week with Katie Crawford, Jason Strutz, Becca Kenzie, Fish, and Caleb Addy will all be at it, drawing some kind of monsters there for you. So October, it will continue to be a big month. Hope you guys can join us. I want to thank everybody for coming on the show today. We got into it really deep compared to how what we normally do, but it's exciting. Leanne, thanks again for joining us for the very first time.
Yeah,
Travis,
thanks for having me.
I'm gonna back your project up.
Yeah.
And we look forward to hearing about your next project. I believe you're already working on it. Unless it's always fun to have on the show.
Yeah.
And we're going to definitely have you back again. Thank you guys for coming on board. See you guys soon. You guys have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care.
Good night.
Later, y'all.